it's coming in like 5 seconds. So
good.
By that I mean right now. All right, here we go. What's up, everybody? Big Sto, Nora. We're here for another episode of Office Hours, episode 79. How are we doing, Nora?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about today's topic because we're talking today about follow up and follow through. So people, we've talked about networking before. We have a whole episode about that we'll link below. And great. You went to the thing, you did the networking, you met the person. Then what happens? What happens after you made the connection? What happens after you've sent the email? What happens after they said they would pay you, but they didn't pay you? And it's, I think, one of the places where people get really stuck and overthink. So that's what we're talking about. Following up and following through. And what?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the topic.
Yeah. Appreciate you all for coming through. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you're new. Hit the like button if you enjoy what you see and hear. Give it a share if you like what you hear as well. In 2 weeks now we'll be doing our 80th episode, which is insane. But we've got lots more on the way and whatnot. And all our platforms are below. Make sure to follow us. And yeah, I think I'll start.
Sorry, did you see my little? You sound like. Okay, go ahead.
No, I was.
Yes, start us off. Focus and be professional. Very serious.
I'm trying. You ruined it. I was trying. You're. Why is following up and following through so important? Honestly, specifically in the music industry, because I honestly think it's something that isn't discussed enough, but we see, I think, some of the ramifications of people not following up and what that can or not what that can lead to, but how that can just kind of stop things dead in its tracks.
Well, I think especially, you said, like, why is it so important in the music industry? And it's important in any industry, but because the music business is such a relational business, nurturing your relationships, following up, following through can really like make or break a situation. Answering your emails, checking in with people. And these are all the things that if you do this, and we'll link this episode also, you will never have to spam anyone. We have a whole episode because some of y'all think you're really, really slick with spam and you're not, and no one wants to be spammed. So because our business is so interpersonal, you go somewhere, you meet someone, then you follow up with them, and then you hope that they call you for the thing, The relationship stuff is really critical. It's as important as anything else, but it's also about putting you in charge of your career. So a lot of people hope, okay, well, I gave you my business card and I hope that you will call me. Well, you've just given up all power and control in that situation. Or you wait for someone to invite you. You wait for someone to include you. You wait for someone to think of you. But if you take on the responsibility of following up and following through, now you're in control or have at least some pull and say and power in that situation. And what is Office Hours all about? It's all about empowering you as a creative and as an entrepreneur. So that's the why of why this stuff is so important. It can really like make or break what your career trajectory looks like.
That and I mean, at least in my personal opinion, that includes following up with your fans. I understand we all want to get in the industry and get in front of insert person here, but like, I think some of y'all are so focused on, well, some of y'all suck at following through and following up when it comes to these opportunities. But I feel like even more so when it comes to your own audience, like people who attend your shows or who like respond to you on anything, like following up with your supporters is important too. They're not just kind of like passive observers while you're on your journey, especially if you're, again, expecting them to be more active. If you're not following up, they're not always going to know what's going on. So I think the following up, following through, there's so many levels to it.
Well, and that's a really important piece. And we talk about this when we talk about like rollouts, but you should have a post event follow-up checklist. And it should include, did I make sure everyone's email addresses are added to my newsletter? Did I send a follow-up email to everybody? Did I interact with everyone who tagged me on social media? Did I make a reels of their content? Did I follow up with the people who I connected with and set a future connection point? Like, these are all like, and I'm not kidding. You should have a checklist in the same way you have a checklist before the event, right? Where you're like, send invitations, go buy snacks, make sure that we have the key to the venue. You should have a checklist for post-event, because I get it, right? As an artist, you're like, oh, we did that thing. You feel so good. You're like, running on all the like feel good.
Right, yeah.
And then you think you're done, and it's really easy to forget or overlook it. And so having a checklist for what you should do in terms of follow-up after an event will help take the thought work out of it, will help take the mental labor out of it. And a lot of what we're going to be talking about today actually is ways where if you take on, how do I say this? Like, relationship building is a lot of emotional work. And if you're trying to connect with someone, the more you do that emotional work for them, the more likely it will be that they will connect with you, because connecting with you won't be so hard. So like I had someone reached out to me once and wanted to meet, and I'm open to, cool, great, let's meet. I'm open to meeting. And this person, a white dude, wouldn't do any of the work of making plans for us to have a meeting. And mind you, this is a business meeting. So I'm like, let me know your availability. Like, tell me what dates and times can you, and at one point I was like, it would be really helpful if you shared in some of the thought labor around us making plans for this meeting. Because if I'm always you reached out to me to meet, but now it's extra work for me to meet with you. Why would I do that? And then he, of course, got really mad when I pointed out that he wasn't carrying any of the emotional labor and spiraled. And I was like, see, this is why we're not meeting. But this is where the simplest thing you can do when you're following up with someone is thinking about what it takes to follow up. Why do you want to meet with them? Mm-hmm. When do you want to meet with them? What time zone do you want to meet with them in? I can't tell you how important, especially for those of you who want to work outside, who want to work nationally, who want to work internationally. People live and work across different time zones all the time. So when you say 5 o'clock, I don't know what that means. So rather than now adding an extra step in me having to ask you what time zone you're suggesting, or me having to be low-key passive aggressive and just assuming you're suggesting my time zone and seeing if you pick up on it, and then we have the potential for misunderstanding. Make sure you clarify the time zones. Make sure you clarify the time length of the meeting. Just doing that work makes it so much easier for someone to be able to follow up with you or meet up with you after an event or after you've had some kind of connection. You want it easy. No, go ahead.
No. Sorry. I was going to make this huge question. I was going to say, but Nora, you're the one who's providing the service for me. Shouldn't you be doing all the emotional labor? Shouldn't you be providing the service for me?
At this point, right, we don't know what our interaction is going to be. At this point, and it shows me what working with you will be like in the future. So
say that one more time.
It's different, right? Like,
y'all don't. Some of y'all really don't understand the other side. Like, I think a lot of artists have this like, do for me, do for me, do for me. And I understand that for sure. But if we could just get creatives in general to just see that, like, there's a lot of work on our end that comes in just to even hop on the phone, like I think there'll be more of like a mutual, at least understanding. Because sometimes I just don't be feeling it.
Well, and I don't even think that part of, I mean, yes, and even if it was neutral, we met at an art gallery and I told you what you do and you told me what you do, and we were like, all right, maybe there's something here for us to explore.
Wait, did y'all meet at an art gallery? Did y'all meet at an art gallery?
No, that person, someone introduced us.
Props to you for coming up with the art gallery. But then, never mind, my bad.
But like, I mean, yeah, like maybe you met at an art gallery and you're like, you're cool, I'm cool. Let's explore this relationship, right? Because networking is not transactional. It's not one-to-one. It's not even immediate. So you meet someone and you're like, all right, cool, we should meet. You want to continue the conversation with me. You don't know if I want to continue the conversation with you. The more you do that initial labor, what that will communicate to me is that this is someone who's professional, who's prepared, who values my time, who values their own time. So then that shows me what our working relationship will be like moving forward. But if you come and you're like, oh yeah, Nora, I want to share some ideas with you, let's meet. And then there's nothing there. That's already showing me that you will expect me to carry a lot of the work. And it shows up in things like who takes notes, or are you sending a calendar invite, or are you, it's these little things and they communicate a lot. So that piece of like doing some of the emotional labor, carrying the mental load. And it's not saying you should always do it, but when you're trying to establish a relationship, it makes a big, big, big difference. You want to make it easy for people to meet with you, and then everything can flow from there. But that initial meeting, that's clutch. The other part of it is then, well, let me pause there. See if you have anything you wanted to add to that. So.
Oh, yeah. All I was going to say on top of that is just like, it sets the tone for everything. I don't know. I'm not saying all creatives do this, but like Nora said, like there's kind of this like expecting the other person that you're hitting up, by the way, like you requested for them to do XYZ. You're still expecting them to do all this, like you said, like labor just to get to the point where we're even communicating about whether or not you even want to work. And so which is not technically in our job description, right? And so if you're not even willing to meet us halfway, like it already shows us kind of like, okay, this is how it's going to be throughout the process. Because as we all know, like working in the creative space, like it's like Nora said, it's not immediate. It's not one and done. Like it's a kind of longer process that kind of requires at least some version of understanding and stuff like that. It's not just an exchange of goods or whatever. Like we're building something here. And so if the conversation starts, or even again the workload starts, and it's like the other person is carrying a lot of it, it can be hard for, again, things to progress past that. And by then, like, not only is like kind of the relationship kind of burned a little bit, but like even the working portion of that isn't the same. And so like Nora said, when you take even just a few of those extra steps, like it just sets the table that much better. I think Nora as well can like point out like extremes of both sides, where it's like we've had artists that are just like, yep, let's communicate, let's do this. I'm here, I'm present, I'm willing to put in the work. And then on the complete other side, artists that just kind of sit back and are just like, all right, so what are you gonna do for me? And that's it. And it's just, that's no artist wants to deal with that on the other side. So it's like, why treat those that you're also trying to work with and network with? Why treat them like that? Because networking is not this, like Nora said, it's not one-sided. Networking is a collaborative effort, which we also have episodes on.
I think
my Wi-Fi fucking up again.
Okay, you're back. You were freezing, but that's the thing. It is a collaborative effort. The other piece of it is that you should follow up. And this is a question I get all the time from clients and artists that like, you might submit for something, you might send an email, you might reach out to someone, you might DM someone. And, people are like, oh, I don't want to double text. There's no such thing as double texting in business and in relation. Like what kind of weird power flex is that? That's weird. It's okay to follow up with people. People get busy, people's calendars get overbooked. They think they responded to something, but they didn't. They read it, they marked it as unread, and then they went back to it, or they looked at it while they were at the gym and were like, this is going to take more mental work, so I'll come back to it, and they forget, whatever. It's a good and 12 reasons. And it doesn't mean that they don't care or they're not interested. So it's perfectly okay. And you should follow up. Now,
exactly. There's a difference.
Thoughtfully, you want to follow up respectfully, but it's perfectly okay to be like, hey, I'm sure you're busy, just wanted to check back in. Now, you don't want to follow up every day, right? You don't want to be spammy. You don't want to harass.
Exactly. There's a difference between following up and double spamming.
But it's perfectly okay to just follow. And so listen, full disclosure, I once responded to an email 6 years after the fact that they had sent it. And I owned it. I was like, yo, I know this is 6 years late.
6 years?
6 years. I was like, I know that this is 6 years late. I just lost track of, pandemic life. And I'm still very interested in working with you if you're open to it. I got a response right away. They were like, yes, we ended up collaborating on something together. It was amazing. And we still have a great relationship now. So following up, you follow up whenever you can. So even if it is 6 years later, as long as you are respectful or thoughtful, you own whatever your responsibility of it is, people are generally quite receptive. Or they'll tell you, you know what, this isn't right for us at this time, and they'll give you a clear answer, and you'll keep it moving. We talk about this in negotiation, but an honest no is so much better than a false yes. Because then you know, rather than you're like, okay, keep trying and you keep trying. The other thing is, if people owe you money, then the rules about following up change a little bit, because get your money. You still want to be respectful and you know what I'm saying?
Get your money.
Get your money. And sometimes people think, oh, you'll forget. I spoke at a conference, it's May, 3 months ago.
That sounds about right.
It took me 3 months of following up with them to finally get paid. To send an electronic, they Zelled me. But it took 3 months. And so that, don't be shy about advocating for yourself. That's really what following up is. And sometimes people are like, and there's obviously different things. So none of this is like one size fits all, but there's part of what following up is advocating for yourself. Is saying, look, I deserve to be responded to. And that's okay. You don't have to make yourself small in these situations.
Yeah. I just wanted to go back to there's such a big difference between following up and kind of re-spamming, because I feel like that comes up a lot where.
Wait, sorry. Can you clarify this for me? Because when you say re-spamming, that makes me think that you've already spammed once and then spamming again.
Yeah, you're right. That's right.
Okay. Because don't spam in the first place. Don't even spam in the first place. Don't spam. Don't spam once. Don't spam twice. It's my pet peeve. It's my pet peeve. I hate it so much. Sorry. Go ahead. So sorry.
No, exactly. I love it. But I don't, because people will get confused and hear following up. Well, I spammed and they didn't hear back. I didn't hear back. So let me just, you know what I mean? And so if the foundation is beginning with spam,
gotcha.
This does not constitute a follow-up. Okay. And even on that same, I've seen people who send a legit first pitch, And then they kind of are just like, hey, did you get this? Send. And it's like, I'm not saying that that's not like bad rapport or whatever, but like, even if you can just, like Nora was saying earlier, if you can just be like, hey, like, I know you're busy. I know you got a lot going on. If there's any chance you got around to this, like, I'd really appreciate it. That sounds way better than, hey, man, where you at? Or, yo, how come I'm not on the playlist? I saw the playlist the other day. I'm not on it. What going on? You know what I mean? And so that does not count as following up or legitimate following up, I guess.
I did an informal survey the other day, and I was asking people, what are the most important things when someone's trying to meet with you or connect with you? And one of the options was that they use your name and they spell it correctly. And
oh yeah, I saw that. Damn,
and people very consistently were like, that's very important to me, but I've given up hope on it.
Same.
Like, and if you treat people like people, spell their name correctly, acknowledge their humanity by using their name, then it makes the follow-up much more humane than, where's this thing? So just, it's the little things, y'all. And I want to go back to what Sto said. If you spammed me, do not follow up on that spam. Because just draw attention to the fact that you spam. What? No.
It happens all the time. I can't tell. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna, yes, like you see our frustration as we're talking to you. Like, this is how people respond, and they may not say anything, but they'll ignore you. They'll stop reading those messages. They'll stop opening it. Eventually, they'll block, delete, unsubscribe, whatever it might be. So, like, you don't want to. This is not how you want to make people feel. You want to make people feel seen, connected, valued, which is also why the last piece of this is so important, right? So you follow up, but you also want to follow through. And what does that mean? You do what you say you will do. You do what you're supposed to do. You respond, and then you share back information, and you communicate, and you're actively collaborating, and you carry your labor, and you do your part. Because again, the music industry is so relational. Your reputation will always precede you. Always. And so the more you are consistent, and you are someone who follows through, and you are someone that can be relied on and counted on, and provide quality work, or all those things, the more this cycle of like connecting, following up, following through, the easier it becomes. The easier and easier and easier it becomes. So that final piece is, you got to see it through the end. You got to keep advocating for yourself. You got to stay on top of people to make sure that what they said that they were going to do for you, they do, or that they have what they need. And that's a really helpful thing you can say. If you see someone's delaying, you can say, this is taking longer than we talked about. What can I do to help you see this through? Make yourself part of the solution, right? Make yourself an ally and a collaborator, rather than, well, you haven't done this thing, you haven't done this thing. So you make the connection, you follow up, you follow through. And the more you do that, the easier and easier it gets, because we want you to be in control of your career, not wait for other people's whims and time capacity.
Well, Nora nailed it. It's like, that's how the cycle continues. Not just by you following up, hey, where's this? Hey, where's that? It's you following through with what you said you're going to do. Because then from there, now we can depend on each other. Versus if you're just, quote, following up to get what you want, but you're not doing your part, again, that's where that cycle ends. Because it's like, okay, I did my piece for you. You're not going to do what you said you're going to do. Okay, it's over. And like, and a lot of artists think they're slick with this, because they'll be like, okay, well, I got what I needed. I don't need anything else. But I promise you, in a year or 2 or 3 or 5, you'll need someone or something. And if you never follow through, you've burnt that bridge. And so you're out here looking for what I want. How come you're not following up? But like, if you're not following through on the opposite end of that, again, like Nora said, your reputation precedes you, pro, I don't know. Bars. Anyway, But again, that cycle can't, that person that you didn't follow through with is not going to be like, okay, I'm just going to do whatever you need, even though you didn't follow through. And so I don't know, music, especially like in the independent space, I feel like is really like contingent on stuff like this. And I feel like that's how we kind of level up and whatnot. If we're able to kind of actually collaborate with each other and make things happen on a bigger scale. But if it's one-sided, like that's how we get these capitalists up in these high places that don't give a shit about any of us. This is how we get people whose egos are so inflated they believe that they can't be touched and whatnot. But like if we all are working together and following through with each other, that's how the independent industry, I feel like, raises up. So it's so important. It's underrated, but it's so important.
It's foundational, right? And yeah, relationships are key, and relationships can change the world, and they can change your career. And I really do recommend y'all go back, and we'll link them in the notes below, but watch the networking episode, watch the spam episode. There's a couple others that I think are
the collaboration episode, the contracts episode, the negotiation episode. We have so many episodes at this point that kind of, at this point, like, I mean, we're probably going to put some playlists together at this point that allow you to kind of create your own, like, if you really want to collaborate, we got episodes. If you really want to get your brand together, we got episodes.
Build your own syllabus at Office Hours with Nora and Sto. And y'all, like, let us know in the comments what your experience with follow through has been. Let us know if there's certain episodes you want to see. Are there topics you want us to explore? We always love hearing from you all and what you want to hear and what will be helpful to you. Make sure you hit the subscribe, share this. Like, the more you share this kind of stuff, the more we create an industry that works for us, by us, that like work for us, the creatives, the independents. And as always, make sure you support an independent artist today. Share someone who doesn't, who isn't getting the kind of attention that everyone else is doing. Share someone's work who's talking about shit that really matters in the world. Definitely go watch our previous episode 78, because we talk about that a lot. And it's really important. Take care of yourselves. Keep making music.
Yeah.
Art matters.
Hit the like button, drink some water, get a stretch in, free Palestine, watch women's basketball. Come on. We'll be back in 2 weeks, actually, with Perfection, which I kept thinking was today, but it's really not. For our 80th. What the fuck? Yeah. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll be back soon.
Bye, friends.